Today I'm taking you on a tour through one of Europe's most enchanting cities. Yes, the cold air bites, but its beauty will take your breath away. This is one of Europe's fairy tale cities with centuries of history. A place where every step feels like you're walking through a living storybook. Welcome to Prague, the capital of Czechia, or as it's also commonly known, Czech Republic. Let's go and explore. Before we explore this wonderful city, I have a favor to ask you. It is free to do so. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. I'm a one-man band with a GoPro. I don't have a marketing team or a production team. I do all the research, all the editing, all the filming myself. So please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe buttons. It really helps me out. When you hit those like and subscribe buttons, it tells the algorithm that I exist and that I make videos. And it promotes my videos to a wider audience. So please go ahead and support me. The city of Prague has about 1.4 million people, the wider metro around 2.3 million people, but most of the people you'll see here on the Old Town Square are tourists like myself. You have several walking tours here with a guide. Oh, you don't need one of those today because you've got me, Willy Explore. I'll show you the beauty of this magical city. The plan is to explore a little bit of the Old Town. We'll go down to the castle and Charles Bridge and maybe have a bite to eat at some point. Just take things a little bit easy and try not to freeze to death. We are starting our vlog here in Prague's Old Town Square, the iconic Old Town Square with so much history. In front there you have St. Nicholas Church from the 18th century. We've got a statue here of Jan Hus, who we're going to talk about later. And over there's a beautiful church of Our Lady Before Tin, or just Tin Church for short. That was built in the 14th and 15th centuries. So many churches in Prague and in Czech Republic, but I've been told it's actually quite a secular society. About 20% of the population are Catholic, 10% are Protestant, and the rest, well, they're mostly agnostic or atheist. Notwithstanding their general stance on religion nowadays, Czech Republic or Czechia, they certainly have some absolutely wonderful churches. In addition to the huge number of tourists that have visited Prague over so many years, Prague has also seen its fair share of famous visitors, like Albert Einstein. You can see there's a restaurant named in his honor here. I believe he used to live here for a period between 1911 and 1912 when he taught at Charles University. And here in Prague he would hang out with contemporaries and friends such as Franz Kafka. Yes, Prague really is like a living time machine. So many different historical buildings, including the 21st century Starbucks. Yeah, loads of tourists here. You might ask yourself what they're doing. Well, they're all waiting for the astronomical clock. They're waiting for the apostles to make an appearance through those windows there. Anyways, I'm just going to give you a teaser of the astronomical clock. It really is one of the things to see here in Prague. Certainly one of my favorite landmarks in the world. But I think we're going to give us a skip for now. So yes, Prague, a very famous tourist city. This is in fact my 4th visit here, but my first since 2011. And I'm keen to see how much has changed. Well, I can tell you one thing. The St. Nicholas Church certainly hasn't changed. It looks just as magnificent. And I just love all the detail on these churches in Europe. Look, even the door handles. They certainly love showing off their craft and their skills when they construct churches in Europe. Yes, even in winter you'll get many tourists here in Prague. In summer, I can tell you, you can probably multiply this by 5 or even 10. So many people here. I actually wonder how much they contribute to the economy of Prague. On the economy though, I know the World Bank classifies Czech Republic or Czechia as a high income country. They use their own currency here, the Czech koruna or the Czech crown. They don't use the euro. In the 19th century, the Czech lands, consisting of Bohemia, Moravia and Silesia, were amongst the first in continental Europe to industrialize. Also from the 13th to the 16th centuries, the Czech lands provided a lot of silver for the Bohemian crown. So the Czech Republic with some economic contributions over so many years. And also, of course, some literary contributions. Look at this, we are in Franz Kafka territory. There's a street named after him here. You can see he lived from 1883 to 1924. So Franz Kafka, the novelist from Prague. His famous works include Metamorphosis, which he published in 1915, as well as the novels The Trial from 1924 and The Castle 1926. And we are actually going to Prague Castle, which I can see in front there. Of course, in English we use the term Kafkaesque to describe bizarre, absurd situations similar to the stories in Kafka's novels. And more coffee shops here as well, restaurants. There really is so much to see. And yes, we are just a few steps away from the Old Town Square, and you can immediately see there are a lot less tourists. I suspect we will hit the tourist trail again on Charles Bridge. Ah, here's the entrance to one of the metro stations, Staromecka. I think that's how you pronounce it. Of course, you can have lots of transport options in the city. There are trams and buses, but for many years the only way to get from one side of a city, i.e. from the castle, to this side of a river was via the Charles Bridge. There are many bridges across the river now, but I want to get to Charles Bridge, which is in front there. The famous Charles Bridge, named after Charles IV. As we walk in that direction, let me give you a bit more information about our man Charles IV, or Karel IV as he was also known. Now, he reigned in this part of the world from 1346 to 1378. He was both the King of Bohemia and the Holy Roman Emperor, and he transformed Prague into one of Europe's most prosperous cities. He established Charles University, he built Charles Bridge, and Prague became an important economic center for German and Italian merchants and bankers. I'm not sure Charles IV can claim credit for this particular market shop here in Prague, but certainly in his time Prague attracted traders from across Europe, and it strengthened its position as a major economic center in the medieval world. So Charles IV, he was born in 1316 and died in 1378. The 14th century King of Bohemia and Holy Roman Emperor. The 14th century, a very important period here in Prague, and there we can get a glimpse of life on the other side of a river. How exciting. Right, let's cross here. You can see Story of Prague Museum there in front. Got a sign here in Czech. Now I can't read Czech. I may attempt to pronounce some phrases, probably to the amusement of the Czech locals. Ječe bezpečné. No idea. Anyways, who needs a bicycle when you can explore Prague on foot? I've noticed a lot of cars in the city though. And yeah, these people cleaning the snow, they're obviously hard at work as well. And yes, here we go, the iconic Charles Bridge here in Prague, and there's a tram carrying more people. What a wonderful city, one of my favorites in Europe, there is no question about that. I have to say, for a city that gets thousands of tourists on a daily basis even, there's not a lot of information in English. All the signs are in Czech. Most people in the city, they do speak English though. So if you do visit here, you will have absolutely no problem getting around. And here is our man, Carolo IV, or Charles IV. in all his glory. And yeah, just look at this as an architectural piece. Just got some information here on the old bridge tower. You can see there, built as a triumphal arch to celebrate the reign of Emperor Charles IV. Just this piece on its own, that's worth visiting Prague for. But of course you have the iconic, legendary, timeless piece of Prague's history here. The stone arch bridge named Charles Bridge. Yes, as expected, we're going to hit a traffic jam of people here on Charles Bridge. But just look at this for a scene. Absolutely breathtaking. The Vltava River, and you've got the castle on that side. Lots of these columns and statues on the sides here as well. Construction of a bridge started in 1357 and it was completed, I believe, in the early 15th century. It replaced the older Judith Bridge, which had been severely damaged by a flood in 1342. So they needed to build this bridge instead. So you can say that Charles Bridge is a symbol of a city's resilience in many ways. It was originally called the Stone Bridge or the Prague Bridge, and it has been known as the Charles Bridge since 1870. I've read that until 1841 this was the only way you could cross the Vltava River. So this bridge was a vital link between Prague Castle, which you can see in front there, and the old town in that direction. Yes, it was a lifeline for traders and merchants back in the day, and nowadays you also have some traders and merchants here on Charles Bridge. Times have moved on, but practices have stayed pretty much the same, I guess. Oh, here we go. There's a beautiful shot of the castle. I'll talk more about the castle in due course. It is steeped in history. It's from the 9th century. Can you believe it? Yeah, they say if you can't beat them, join them. So let's join the traffic jam of people. I suspect many of them will be going to the castle. This bridge is 516 meters long. It doesn't quite feel that long, to be honest. It's nearly 10 meters wide as well. Now, for those of you interested in numerology, here's a fascinating fact. Legend has it that this bridge was born on 5:51 AM on the 9th of July 1357, with Charles IV laying the first brick himself. Now, why is that time and date significant? Well, it's a perfect palindrome. If you write it from front to back and then from back to front, it is the same. The perfect palindrome, 135797531 to Charles IV. This wasn't just the start of a bridge. This was a numerical masterpiece that would give the structure extra strength and power, making it an enduring symbol of Prague for centuries. So talk about building with some serious cosmic energy, Charles IV. And years before him, centuries even, they also used some fairy tale magic to produce the castle we're going to see next. A 9th century castle. Yes, there's a queue of people here because they're all trying to touch something for good luck. Look at that. The statue of John of Nepomuk is quite popular. Of course, it's got these golden figures which people touch for good luck. John of Nepomuk, I believe, was chucked in the water here and he died, and now they celebrate him. Yes, so even in winter Prague will be very busy. Absolutely, in summer it will be jam-packed. I do think the winter is the better time to come and visit here. Yes, this bridge certainly doesn't feel like half a kilometer or more. This is a very pleasant walk. You can see well-preserved bridge. I wonder how often they need to repair it, because the traffic of people here, yes, it will take its toll. You can also get your face caricature painted here. Look at that. Prague certainly a very arty city as well. Yes, this certainly hasn't felt like I've walked half a kilometer. Maybe I'm just physically fit, you know. Anyways, let's get to Prague Castle. I'll tell you more about it when we get there. For now, I just want to point out more wonderful architecture here in the city. Yes, so I thought the castle might be over here, but they say we should still go a little bit left. Pražský hrad, I think Hrad is castle. And more pastel or candy colored buildings in this part of town. Every street is just like opening a page in a storybook. It's just so many wonderful things to notice. I love these statues here in Prague. I love the detail. Look at the faces. Absolutely wonderful. And yes, some more, I guess, sweet treats for us, maybe to explore a bit later. Yes, there you can see jewelry by Bohemia. This is very much Bohemia territory, the old kingdom of Bohemia. Yeah, just all the stories these buildings could tell if they could speak. It's just incredible. More coffee shops and art shops. Of course, lots of beer in the Czech Republic as well. The Pilsner, the famous Czech beer. Tobacco shops and jewelry shops over there. So many wonderful little shops to explore. Even the detail on some of the doors here. Look at this. I wonder what that signifies. Some fairly old architecture and some fairly modern shops or restaurants. We have coffee and some colorful treats here. Macarons, Bombardino Premium. Wonder what that is. And some colorful sorbets and milkshakes. Prague, a very colorful city, not just in terms of architecture. Yes, trying to find the castle. I've not been here for several years, and I think I thought I was lost, and I've noticed over there, pretty easy to spot. There's just so much to see in this city. It will be impossible to cover everything in this vlog, but I'm going to try my best to show you at least some of the main highlights, including the castle, which is perhaps the most famous highlight. I guess the astronomical clock will have something to say about that. But anyway, Pražský hrad in this direction. Yeah, I've noticed, like I said, several public transport options. The trams are pretty good here in the city. Many people walk though, and I think walking is probably your best bet, certainly in the old town. If you want to travel to the outskirts of city, definitely take public transport. I know many people also take these scooters, bicycles that you can hire by the looks of it. I definitely recommend walking. I notice for Prague people, they love time and they love clocks. There are several clocks scattered across the city. And more beautiful architecture here. Look, they even have some paintings here on this one. More detail at the top there. Anyways, I could stare at these buildings for hours. However, we have sights to see, places to visit, alleys to explore. Let's see if we can get to the castle first. Wonder which is the best way. When in doubt, follow the tourists. Many people go in this direction. And yeah, just look at the beautiful streets. Almost glistens from the snow that's melting. We had a bit of snow yesterday, so I couldn't film, but you can see a little bit of snow as well today. There are a few snowflakes waving in the air. I'm not sure if you can see them. Yes, I know we're going to the castle, but we're passing some wonderful monuments and architecture along the way. It's so easy to just get sidetracked by the main sites and you forget about all the other things there is to experience in the city. Beautiful restaurant here. We've got a gift shop with some colorful items here on display. And another mini market. Look at that beer, alcohol. They separate out beer and alcohol just because beer is so common here in Czech Republic. I guess it's a case of pick your poison here at this mini market. I suppose you can also have some Haribo sweets. Anyways, onwards and upwards. There's another shop, restaurant with a garden, beautiful flowers and some hard balloons. Yeah, the Romanian embassy here in Prague. And we've got more jewelry shops here, Bohemian jewelry. And Milnare. Not sure about the pronunciation. He's drinking a large beer there, getting hydrated. So what do you think of Prague? Let me know in the comments. Looks a little bit different from Van Zijlsrus or Hopefield in South Africa. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who have watched my South Africa vlogs. They've done very well. I'm really pleased with how they went. And certainly I managed to pick up a lot more subscribers. I do plan on returning to South Africa in due course. The plan for now is to, at least whilst it's very hot in South Africa, explore some other places. I went from burning hot to freezing cold. But anyway, I hope this variety will also do my channel a world of good. They say it's always good to diversify, so I'm diversifying my content at the moment, not putting all my eggs in one basket. I will return to South Africa in due course, but please continue watching my other videos as well. Yeah, some really nice eccentric looking shops. Coffee and mulled wine. Look at all the mugs and cups there on display. Golden Key Hotel. There, so many things to explore. Museum of Alchemists down there. And yeah, look at that medieval figure there holding the shield. So many restaurants. Look at the snow-covered landscape there. Prague is absolutely, from an aesthetic perspective, one of the most beautiful cities you'll come across. Onwards and upwards. Let's continue our uphill struggle to get you the best content possible here on Willy Explore. You've got Red Lion Hotel. Red Lion, of course, the most popular name for a pub in England. It's the most prominent. You've got some more souvenirs here, license plates, figurines. Pinocchio is even there as well. I'm pretty sure that even without the translation here, I would have figured out Praska Czekolada, chocolate shop here in Prague. And another statue called Toileta. Is that right? Certainly doesn't look like a toilet. Yeah, wonder what that is. Bit of a strange name for a woman. More directions. There's go Praski Rad. And yeah, just look how beautiful and colorful. Yeah, so I think you can either go in that direction, but maybe this is a more conventional way. Ah, yes. I absolutely think we're on the right track here. Before we get to the architectural centerpiece of this part of town, just giving you another shot here. This could even be a thumbnail. How's this for juxtaposition? You've got a 9th century castle not too far from here, and a 20th or 21st century commercial enterprise over here. Yes, I have to say again, for a city that gets a lot of tourists, not a lot of information in English. Lots of Czech though. Yeah, just look at that view. And I've heard some music. Could that be the changing of a guard? I might be a little bit too late for that. Or maybe not. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, nowadays the president of Czech Republic, this is where they live. So you will see some very official looking people, i.e. guards here. Could this be the changing of the guards? Maybe we're just lucky. Let's see. There you go, what a bonus. Anyway, let's go and explore more. Prague Castle was originally built in the 9th century, the year 870, by Prince Bohemia. I think that's the right pronunciation. Let me know in the comments if not. Prince Bohemia, the first documented Duke of Bohemia. Today the castle, it houses the Czech president. But throughout history it also housed Bohemian kings, Holy Roman emperors, and of course Czechoslovakian presidents. So Czech Republic once part of Czechoslovakia, and we'll talk more about that in due course. And the term Prague Castle is often used to refer not just to the structure itself, but also to the president and their staff, as the castle remains a central hub of political life. And it also, somewhere in the complex here, in the secret room, houses the Bohemian crown jewels. The Guinness Book of World Records also say this is the largest ancient castle in the world. 70,000 square meters. My studio flat in Brighton is only 52 square meters. Maybe if I were to upsize my living space. I could be looking for an ancient castle to add to my property portfolio. Hey, we can only dream, eh? There's an orientation plan. I really want to get to St. Vitus Cathedral as well. Let's check it out. Can you see what I did there? Let's check. Anyways, let's go. Yeah, the snow just gives us an extra bit of magic. I've not been here for many years. I mentioned 2011, my last visit. So that's a long time ago. And I have to say, things so far look still fairly familiar. I guess it's not easy to get away with or to alter buildings that have existed for centuries. Yes, here we go. An old fountain display here. It's so cold, I guess the water would freeze if it was on. Is that Atlas carrying the world on his shoulders? I'm not sure. More people carrying the crown, so to speak. I'm not going to go into the castle itself, but you can see there, that's the prices you're talking about. Valid for 2 days. I think it's just free to go to St. Vitus Cathedral, or at least see it from the outside. And yeah, fairly huge castle complex. As I mentioned, the largest ancient castle in the world. 70,000 square meters, or 750,000 square feet. Oh yes, open sesame. This is what I'm talking about. St. Vitus Cathedral. Just check all the detail again. And this church is iconic in Czech Republic. It's the seat of the Archbishop of Prague. And yes, the largest and most important church in this part of the world. I believe this present cathedral is the third religious structure on this site. The first church was built as a Romanesque rotunda in the 10th century. Whilst the first church on this site was originally founded in the 10th century, the construction of a cathedral spanned many centuries. In fact, work began in 1344 already, under Emperor Charles IV. But the cathedral remarkably was not completed until 1929. Long periods of interruptions due to political and financial issues hampered its construction. So I guess building this cathedral back in the day must have felt like playing Age of Empires or SimCity with a broken mouse. You struggled to finish. Anyways, they did finally finish in 1929. And what a magnificent sight this is. Ah, look how beautiful. References there to St. Petrus and St. Paulus. Yeah, there were a lot of people filming on the other side there, so I stepped outside here just to give you another shot there of the towers. I believe they are 102.8 meters tall. Let me tell you more about the Habsburg era here in Prague, which lasted from 1526 to 1918. And I want to focus specifically on Rudolf II. During the second half of the 16th century, Prague saw cultural growth under the reign of Emperor Rudolf II. Rudolf II, yes, he did call Prague Castle home, but it wasn't just a place for royal lounging. His court wasn't just filled with diplomats and advisors. Oh no, it was basically the VIP lounge for eccentric minds of the time. Rudolf invited scholars, magicians, astrologers, scientists, many prominent people. One of the scientists that Rudolf II invited to live here in Prague was Johannes Kepler. I have read though that the era of cultural prosperity that was marred by growing tensions and some religious conflicts. I'll talk a little bit more about the 30 Years' War when we get down to the Old Town Square again. But important to note that whilst Prague was intellectually vibrant, the broader political and economic situation was perhaps a little bit unstable at that time. So yes, the Habsburg era in Prague, in this part of the world, 1526 to 1918. That is a long time. Anyways, let's say goodbye to Pražský hrad, Prague Castle. Let's walk in this direction towards the city center again. I think this is one of the ways you can get there. Obviously we crossed over Charles Bridge, so I'm quite keen for you to see something a little bit different, a different route. What have we got here? Another hot drink place. Let's see, maybe we can try something here. Something authentically Czech. Got cappuccinos here, flat whites. Ah yes, you get beer in Prague. We also have Begerovka, Czech Republic, herbal liqueur. Ah yes, so I've been told this is fairly Czech, this cream roll. And I'm also going to have a cappuccino. There's the Czech currency, 200 Czech crowns, Czech koruna. 1 British pound, about 30 of these. And the cappuccino here was 85. I'm going to have a cream roll here for 65. Oh, there we go. Thank you so much. Alright guys, here goes the creme roller here in Czech. Let's see what it's like. Very sweet. I'll show you the inside there. They've mixed together some egg whites and some sugar and created something beautiful. Cheers to Prague. Right, let's go and explore more. Historic Škola, so maybe a historic school. And I just love how they celebrate people here in Europe with busts and statues outside the buildings, religious statues as well. Yes, it may be very secular today, but this country has a strong religious past. And again, scenes depicted here on this building. It's a bit faded, but you can still make out some of the images. Absolutely beautiful. Prague chocolate factory store, that's what it's today. Right, lots of museums and some classic cars as well. Look at this, the Gallery Jakubska. And here is a face I recognize. I'll talk more about Thomas Mazarek in a bit as well, but yes, he's depicted there, the first president of Czechoslovakia. Let's go down here. So many different alleys to explore in Prague. I could either have gone down that. Last chance, shall we go or shall we go here? Yo, tough decisions, hey? I'm gonna trust my gut and I'm gonna go down here. There's just something about a hidden alley that I cannot resist. Let's see what we can find. So far, not very impressive. I can see some people had a good time. I've noticed a lot of these stickers on buildings and on pipes around the city. You can see there university stickers, but also I guess more alternative and eccentric images, QR codes. Prague as a city of culture and of art. Yeah, how surreal. I was surrounded by people just a minute ago and now I've got the city to myself, so to speak. Yeah, what have we got here? British Embassy. Oh wow. Oh, there we go, Mr. Churchill. There we go. So if I lose my passport, I know where to come. Yes, I've got a British passport. Last time I visited here, I still had a South Africa passport only. I had to apply for a Schengen visa. What a schlep it was, getting the visa, getting through customs. Nowadays with a British passport, it's just so much easier. But anyway, not to spoil it, I'll talk about it when we get there. By the way, this coffee was 85. Certainly, if you visit the touristy bits of Prague, you will pay a little bit more money. I would say 70 is probably a fairer price for a coffee, maybe even a little bit cheaper. 85 does seem a little bit extortionate, but hey, who's complaining? In weather like this, you need to stay warm. And yeah, more interesting buildings here. Different colors, different shapes. Again, look at the detail there, the faces carved in the buildings. Got a restaurant here. And yeah, okay, I see where we are. We were just here a little bit earlier. So I could have just walked down the other side, it wouldn't have made a difference. We did get to see something a bit different though. In fact, a slight change of plan. I'm going to go back to the bridge. I'm not necessarily going to cross on Charles Bridge, but there are some areas around the bridge that I remember were quite nice. Let's check out more of the shops here in Prague and do a bit of window shopping. What have we got here? Wooden products. Biblical scene there. And more over here, wooden tree. It's just amazing what people can do with woodwork. Some chessboard, chess pieces. And yeah, another, there you go. More biblical scenes. More figures. Dwarfs by the looks of it. Owl. Well, some pretty flowers. February, well, it is Valentine's month. And yeah, some warm clothes for the cold weather. Some more Prague memorabilia here. Nuts and wines, Praha. What have they got here? Looks like some dried fruit. I've noticed they like ice creams here in Prague as well. Look at that, how nice that looks. Treat yourself. Well, maybe, yeah, I think I'll give the sugar a rain check for now. Maybe try something a bit different later on. Yeah, there you can see the traffic jam of people in front. Charles Bridge again. They've got one of these in Brighton as well, the Duck Boutique. I think it's called the Duck Shop in Brighton. Yeah, there you go, the ducks saving the world. Check out some ostriches depicted here. I feel like I'm back in Africa, in Trdelnik. Saw some ostriches there. And certainly this is not part of Trdelnik. This is part of Prague. Not going on Charles Bridge at the moment. I'm gonna go down here and see what there is to find. Can't remember from my previous visits if I've explored this area in detail. Yeah, immediately far less tourists. Usually some people will say you're a bit off the tourist trail, and that's maybe exactly what you need sometimes to explore something a bit different. Antiques for sale here. You've got a special effects museum, cafe and restaurant. Yes, so if you want to hide from all the tourists and come and explore some beautiful art. Wow, look at this. Finding love in front of a tin church. Yes, there you can see the Charles Bridge, but standing underneath it. Looks rock solid. Yeah, it's been around for a while. Yeah, here you go, Kampa in this direction. I think Kampa is actually an island here in the Vltava river, which you can also see here. Yeah, I've just heard people sell some boat trips. I'm sure that will be a nice experience as well here on the river. Yeah, more beautiful pastel colored buildings here. And there's another entrance to the bridge itself. Okay, Bohemian Bistro, Residence Dvorak. Archibald at the Charles Bridge Hotel. Yeah, lots of art, lots of music shows, sculpting I've seen advertised across the city. I'm really impressed with the artistic touch of Prague. It's not something I particularly noticed on previous visits. Maybe I just didn't notice it. Here we go, na Kampa Island. Again, more busts of people that they celebrate here in Prague. Yeah, a bit of a green space. Yeah, absolutely, now it rings a bell. I've definitely been here. Kampa Park. Ah, yes. Now we are talking. Look at this beautiful view. Obviously the downside of walking on Charles Bridge is you don't get a view of Charles Bridge, but now you can see it in the distance there. And yeah, the old town across the river. Yes, what a fantastic green space. And in a city with so many tourists, how wonderful is it to hear some water for a change, and not traffic or the voices of people. How peaceful and tranquil. A bit of an oasis here in Prague. So what do you think of Prague so far? Let me know in the comments. Life is pretty good, isn't it? By the way, if you haven't done it yet, please press the like button and subscribe to the channel. I've got a question for you. Have you ever seen anything as bizarre as this? This is the work of David Černý. He's a Czech sculptor known for his bold and sometimes controversial works. Černý created these giant crawling babies. They've got these bar-coded indentations where the faces should be. What do they mean? Well, I guess it's open to interpretation. Some people say that it represents the loss of humanity, the loss of individualism under communism. Some people say it represents the advancement of technology, hence the bar-coded indentations. The barcode might show how people were coded under communism. They were controlled by the system. The massive size and crawling movement for some people reflects the slow, heavy burden of the past, or even how the state treated its citizens like children who needed to be guided. Children that never grew up, that had barcodes for faces. They were basically coded. Whatever the meaning is behind these, I just absolutely love these works of art. And I know there are also some crawling babies on the Žižkov Tower, the old TV tower here in Prague. All right, we say goodbye to David Černý and this beautiful park. Let's go and explore more of the old town. Yes, onwards and upwards. Yeah, check that out. No tourists there, but carrying some sand. So even manufacturing businesses seem to use the river Vltava. Right, getting to the old town again. Just want to show you here Karlovy Lacne, which advertises themselves as the biggest music club in Central Europe. Prague, a nice place to come and party. So something for everyone here in Prague. Yeah, I would say that this junction here in Prague, the population density is above average. There you go, Cafe Kepler, a reference to Johannes Kepler, who lived in Prague. Could this have been where he stayed? Let me tell you more about the First World War and how it affected Prague and the Czechs. Well, the Czechs, they were in no mood to fight a war for their Austrian rulers. And the Slovaks, they were in no mood to fight a war for their Hungarian rulers. It was a very frustrating time for the people, and the dream of independence was burning brightly. During the war, a group of determined visionaries, including Thomas Masaryk, they began making the case for Czech and Slovak independence. They found a crucial ally in President Woodrow Wilson of the United States, who, influenced by his idealistic vision for the future, was eager to support the people's rights for self-determination in this part of the world. That idea of a unified state took shape in the Cleveland Agreement of 1915 and the Pittsburgh Agreement of 1918. As the war came to its inevitable close, the moment the Czechoslovak people had been waiting for arrived. The Austro-Hungarian Empire finally dissolved, and on the 28th of October 1918, with the full backing of the Allies, Czechoslovakia declared their independence. Prague was made the capital, and Thomas Masaryk, the visionary and philosopher, was appointed as the first president of Czechoslovakia. So President Wilson and Starbucks, well, the other Americans who've made contributions to this part of the world. All beautiful shops here. Look at this, the Golden Eagle with the Russian dolls for sale, the Matryoshka dolls. Look at that coffee. Coffee. Maria Crystal. Certainly, I'll remember Prague and the Czech Republic as a place with a sweet tooth, that is for sure. As for Prague during the Second World War, well, remarkably, the city did not suffer a lot of physical damage. It was largely kept intact. During the Second World War, Czechoslovakia ceased to exist, but it was re-established after the war. It had largely the same borders as pre-war times. I've heard a statement from someone, but bear in mind I couldn't confirm it, that apparently the Germans never wanted to destroy Prague during the Second World War. In fact, they had plans to make it their capital after the war because they were so impressed with its natural beauty and its brilliant architecture. I don't know if that is true, so let me know in the comments. Loads of souvenir shops here in the old town. A restaurant called Fat Cat. This side some jewelry. Gosh, they really love jewelry in this part of the world. Staromachek, I think that's how you pronounce it. Traditional Czech cuisine. Anyways, let's go through here. Check out Mad Rabbit. Love what they've put here. Love at first bite. Yes, some macarons. Beautiful color there as well. Check this out. I love Prague. And you can be part of a Prague drinking team if you buy that hoodie. Anyways, we've arrived back here on the Old Town Square, and let me tell you more about the astronomical clock. Gosh, it looks pretty busy at the moment. Ah, here you go, the astronomical clock in Prague, here on the Old Town Hall. My favorite landmark in the city. You've got the astronomical dial, which is the oldest part of a clock dating from 1410. It tracks the positions of the sun and the moon in the sky, and it provides a lot of celestial info, from the phases of the moon to the zodiac signs. Think of it as some sort of medieval app for the universe back in time, but with the Earth at its center. You got planet Earth there right in the middle of the dial. Someone told me the blue section of the astronomical clock there represents daylight, when the sun is above the horizon. And then you've got the orange or reddish section there, which marks the local horizon, as well as the dawn and dusk periods, when the sun is below the horizon. And then the black section, that is the astronomical night, when it is completely dark. You also have 3 sets of numbers and different time systems on the clock there at the top. You've got Gothic, Roman and Arabic numerals. And below the astronomical dial you've got the calendar dial, which shows the months of a year, but with a medallion depicting people. And the calendar months also has the symbol of Prague at its center. Around the edges it displays a description of each day of the entire year, with the current day highlighted at top. Each month is also represented by a zodiac sign placed with a medallion. And right at the top you can see the blue windows there. Every hour the clock puts on a mini show featuring the 12 apostles parading through those windows. And on the side of the astronomical clock at the top there you can see 4 figures. They are vanity, greed, death and lust. Vanity, well, the figure is admiring himself in the mirror. It's typically interpreted as vanity, reflecting the human tendency to be self-absorbed. And then you have greed, a miser holding a bag of gold. It symbolizes greed, or the love of wealth and materialism. You've got death, the skeleton that strikes the bell on the hour, and that's a reminder of the inevitability of death. And then the figure representing lust, that's probably my favorite part. It is depicted as a Turkish figure, often associated with the perceived exotic pleasures of the time. I wonder what the Turks today would say about them being represented here as lust on the astronomical clock. Here in the Old Town Square you've got a statue of Jan Hus. In the late 14th and early 15th centuries, he spearheaded a church reform movement that would have a lasting impact on Bohemia. His criticisms of the Catholic Church eventually led to his death by burning in 1415, which led to a major uprising by Hussite preachers. And in fact, it also led to the first defenestration. The death of Jan Hus in 1415 eventually culminated in a dramatic event in 1419, when several Catholic officials were thrown out of the windows of Prague's new town hall, coining the term defenestration, literally the act of throwing someone out of a window. And that ignited the Hussite Wars. That was a series of religious and military conflicts in Bohemia, largely driven by the reformist ideas of Jan Hus on top there. Martin Luther is often remembered as a key figure of the Reformation. But here in Czech lands, Jan Hus, who preceded Luther by almost a century, is celebrated as a figure as well. Jan Hus was inspired by the English theologian John Wycliffe. He challenged the corruption and the wealth of the Catholic clergy, who owned vast amounts of lands here in Bohemia. And they also imposed heavy taxes on the poor. His calls for reform resonated with widespread discontent among the Czech people. Another key defenestration in Prague took place in 1618, when Catholic officials and their secretary were thrown out of a window by Protestant nobles. That led to the 30 Years' War. That conflict was one of Europe's most destructive wars, and it was driven by religious and political struggles. It started with a defenestration though. The surviving officials sparked a chain of events that drew much of Europe into a brutal war between Catholic and Protestant factions, as well as various other political forces. So yes, people thrown out of windows, some of them survived, and they were not happy about it, so they start a war. I've also read that the 30 Years' War was disastrous for Bohemia, and they lost almost a quarter of the population. You've got to love some old architecture, which houses an Omega shop. Look there, an Irish pub, here in Prague as well. I suppose I'm not really in the mood for Leinster and Munster or anything to do with Irish rugby really. No offense to my Irish viewers, but I'm getting a bit worried. Your rugby team is getting a little bit strong. Too strong for my liking. Some people in Prague, they do go to church. They go to fashion church. Look at this, pretty exclusive. Yeah, if you fancy a night out in Prague, if you want to get your glitter on, this is where you need to come. Yeah, it looks like I've stumbled across some high-end shopping, and I believe this is Charles University, 1348. So the old educational establishments and the more modern fashion empires coexisting. There you go, reference to the university. I can't read Czech, but I do see 1348 there. That's when Charles IV founded Charles University. I've been told this is the oldest university north of the Alps and east of Paris. So I guess north of the Alps because Italy had some universities before 1348, and east of Paris probably because of Oxford, Cambridge, and of course Sorbonne in Paris. Jan Hus, mind you, was a rector of his university, which is why his statue is also through there. Next to the university here, you've got the Estates Theatre. And this is of course synonymous with Mozart. He visited Prague a few times, but his second visit, when Don Giovanni premiered here, is arguably the most famous. And here you go, in memory of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's Don Giovanni, premiered in this theatre. You can see there, 1787. The Praguers, they loved Mozart, and of course he loved them back in return. He famously said, "My Praguers understand me," or "Mein Pragers verstehen mich." Mozart visited Prague a few times, but he never lived here, and there are various theories as to why he never lived here. One theory suggests he needed to be in Vienna because Prague had a lack of musical talent. Vienna had so much more to offer in that regard. Others point to the fact that Prague was just a provincial capital in Mozart's time, and he needed the support of the aristocracy to continue his music career. Nonetheless, they love Mozart here, and he certainly loved them back in the day. Also, the 1984 movie Amadeus was largely shot here in Prague. Why? Because Prague in 1984 looked a lot more like Vienna in the 18th century than what Vienna did in 1984. Vienna, well, they would have gone through a modernization program by 1984. And Prague, well, it was stuck in communism in the 1980s. Here you've got the municipal house. Again, just look at all the detail, all the engravings. And next to it, this is Powder Gate or Powder Tower. They used to store gunpowder there. An example of Cubist architecture here in Prague. look at this. And we've got a coffee shop at the top there as well. I love these old Prague cars, look at that. Vintage. And I suppose nowadays they operate as taxis. Not sure, let me know in the comments. Yeah, here we go. Czechoslovakia was never part of the Soviet Union, but they did follow the Soviet model closely after World War II. In the 1946 elections, the Communist Party became the dominant force in Czechoslovakian politics. And they formed a coalition government with other socialist parties. However, tensions soon rose between communists and Democrats. In 1948, the communists, with the backing of the Soviet Union, staged a coup d'etat. That shifted Czechoslovakia's government to align with the Soviet system, with a centrally controlled one-party state. Communist rule would last until 1989. The Berlin Wall fell on the 9th of November 1989, and on the 17th of November 1989, the so-called Velvet Revolution started here. The Velvet Revolution was a peaceful uprising that led to the collapse of the communist government. Velvet in the name suggests it was very smooth and peaceful. It was hailed for its almost entirely non-violent character. I've even read some reports that state not a single window was broken in the Velvet Revolution. Now compare that to political situations elsewhere in the world. What a stark contrast. Czechoslovakia dissolved on the 31st of December 1992 during the so-called Velvet Divorce, which followed that Velvet Revolution of 1989. After the Velvet Divorce, Czechoslovakia ceased to exist, and you now had the birth of two separate countries, the Czech Republic and Slovakia. Right everyone, I'm finally giving in. I'm gonna have a Trdelnik, and these are the options. I went for a strawberry one with some vanilla ice cream, and they also call it a chimney cake. Right, here's the Trdelnik. You can see a mountain of ice cream in a sugar-coated cone. Trdelnik. First things first, it's not very stable. I'm gonna have to find a way to eat it and film. Yo, I'm gonna have to improvise here, so I've got the ice cream on a spoon. Oh, beautiful. Very nice. Vanilla ice cream. There's maybe a hint of extra sugar. Strawberries there, chocolate coating, and there's the cone. Swapping a healthy lunch for ice cream, that's called living the dream. Right, I think I figured out a system. Let's go. Love it. Love the chocolate here on the vanilla. The strawberries, well, I expect them to taste like strawberries. Just as I expected. I can see it's dripping a bit there at the bottom. Let's have a taste of the cone first. Don't know if this is a good idea. Here we go. Yeah, sugar coated cone. Very soft. So it's almost like a pastry, not like your traditional ice cream cone. Anyways, I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my Trdelnik, and I'll see you in a bit. I speak under correction, but I think we're pretty much at the border of the old town and the new town over there. Where the old town and the new town come together, it looks like there are a lot of high-end shops. Definitely the shopping feeling you get in this part of town. Even have a little, so maybe some budget supermarket shopping as well. Yes, you can always feel the pace or the pulse of a city by just noticing how people behave and what they do. People in this part of town, they don't look to be in a rush like tourists. Usually tourists, they want to get from A to B. But shoppers, for example, they are here for a leisurely stroll. They are here to find some bargains. Shoppers take their time compared to tourists, who are usually a bit more rushed. So yes, lots of people, but certainly a fairly relaxed pace. And you just gotta love Europe with all the old buildings and the modern shops in the old buildings. That is something that I can never get used to. Look at the aptly named Prague supermarket. So if you've got any doubt where the supermarket is located, the clues in the name. And a lot of different shops that I recognize. Looks like I've got a footprint here in the Czech Republic as well. Yes, shopping heaven. I can absolutely say that if you enjoy shopping, or even if you just enjoy window shopping, Prague is a place for you. And I also believe we are approaching Wenceslas Square, which is a legendary place that has witnessed it all. Epic historical moments, lively protests, celebrations, and a lot more. I've also read that the area around here is the busiest pedestrian hotspot in the entire country. So there you go. Wenceslas was never a king. He was Duke of Bohemian in the 10th century, but he is such a legendary figure here that they had to name a square after him. He's also got saintly status. They celebrate him here for his strong leadership efforts. He was a legendary leader that did a lot for Christianity in the area, to promote the religion and also help the poor. His assassination, allegedly by his brother, also adds to his legend. Looks like some rooftop clubs, some expensive hotels in the area as well. And yeah, the shopping district continues here. So yes, Prague, a very modern city, and I think it's become even more modern since my last visit in 2011. I can't even begin to think what it was like under communism. Certainly you would not have had British department stores in this part of the world. If you lived through communism, let me know in the comments what it was like. Before we get to Wenceslas Square, I want to take you through this passage, Lucerna, which I heard is quite popular here in Prague, also as a meeting spot. And it links well with Wenceslas Square because I think there's a statue of Wenceslas' horse that is upside down. Yes, Passage Lucerna here in Prague. A little passage and a piano hanging from the ceiling here. Look how beautiful this is. Am I right in thinking that Prague love their music? Someone also told me that the Velvet in Velvet Revolution, yes, it refers to a smooth protest, but a lot of people were also listening to Velvet Underground at the time. There are a lot of interesting stuff here for us to look at. Look, you've got Elton and Elvis and Freddie, and some pretty hardcore musical instruments for sale here. Look there, the guitar of Brian May, Gene Simmons. Yeah, it's a pretty local feel about this passage. And oh, there we go, there's the horse. The upside down horse with Wenceslas. Oh my goodness. Wow. There we go. This is also the work of David Černý. I believe this is a popular meeting spot for people across the city. And this building itself has a lot to offer. You can see they've got a theatre here, a kino, movie theatre that is. And here we are, Wenceslas Square, the iconic Wenceslas on a horse that is not upside down. This is an iconic place, not just in Prague but in the entire Czech Republic. You can just think of all the historic moments here, all the celebrations, all the protests, all the key events that this square would have witnessed. And look at the impressive museum building behind there. This city, this country has been through a lot. If you were part of the Velvet Revolution, which also took place here, let me know in the comments. What was that like? Can you remember those years? The period of optimism. The sense that things will become a lot better after a difficult period. And on this side of the square you've got two great Americans celebrated there. Hotel Wilson, President Woodrow Wilson, which we talked about earlier, and McDonald's, of course. I'm just walking to my accommodation, and I just wanted to give you a glimpse of Prague properly away from the tourists. Whenever I visit a place, especially if I've been there before, I like living on the outskirts of a city or away from the touristy areas to get an idea of how the locals go about their business. You can see the tram stops and people waiting for transport. You don't really hear a lot of English on the streets in this part of town. You can see no chain stores. You've got kebab shops and various other businesses, barber shops, but none of the la-di-da kind of shops you'll find in other parts of the city. You can see a small mini market, and even in this part of town they like displaying the time. You can see there, no need to wear a watch or to check the time on your phone. They'll always show you the time here in Prague. Yes, I wonder what these buildings are used for. They look residential, but they still have a very impressive touch. I know that the New Town area in Prague is not very new, because Charles IV built it in the 14th century, but there are certainly, I guess, newer neighborhoods that sprang up after that. I think we are still in the New Town, although I think we're getting very close to the border. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong. Nonetheless, you do have a very different atmosphere here than what you'll find in the touristy bits. Life is pretty slow and relaxed. Yo, this feels nice and warm. I'm back here at the hotel. Let me show you where I'm staying here in Prague. Here's my room. You can see I've got a double bed. I've got a light on the side there. I've got another seating area of some sorts there. A nice desk where I can edit my videos. I've got a TV, albeit everything is in Czech. And I've got a safety box over there. I guess extra blankets in case I need it. A space to hang my coats and hangers over there, although I've opted for a spot here close to the heater. I've also got a bar fridge in there where I can store some water and meat. Nice painting on the wall there, and it does come with a wonderful view of the outside of the hotel. Not of Prague, unfortunately. Oh, here we go. That's the area, and it's a little bit chilly. So no view to necessarily write home about, but nonetheless, this is a very nice room. And here's the bathroom, pretty standard stuff. You've got the wash basin over there, a shaver and a hairdryer, and the shower. I've paid about 85 British pounds for 3 nights. I think that's good value. And it does come with breakfast as well. Here's a map of Prague. I believe my accommodation's somewhere in this area. Yeah, there's the astronomical clock, there's Tin Church, Powder Gate. We obviously crossed the Charles Bridge, saw the castle, we went to Kampa Park, and we also explored a little bit of the area here around Wenceslas Square. If you want to travel the world and you want to save some money, here's probably the biggest tip I can give you. Shop at the supermarkets. So I paid quite a premium for a coffee and some sweet stuff in the town itself. But at the supermarket, I got 2 bread rolls, I got some ham and some cheese for less than 80 Czech crowns. This was cheaper than the coffee I had. I will often make myself a sandwich or a bread roll like this with some ham and cheese, and I will put it in my backpack and take it along with me when I go and explore the town. So there you go, guys. The supermarket is your friend whenever you go backpacking. Alright everyone, I'm going to end the video here. I hope this at least gave you a good idea of what to expect in Prague, in the Czech Republic, in Czechia. And I hope you're going to check out more of my adventures, see what I did there in the upcoming vlogs, because I'm going to travel to other parts of the country which other tourists don't necessarily go to. Many people just come to Prague and have a good time, but I'm sure there's a lot more to see in this country. If you haven't done it yet, please press the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment for me in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. For now, I just want to say again, thanks for watching my videos, and I will see you, no wait, I'm going to check you in the next one. Cheers, take it easy.